Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, mystical beings. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Rachel Fiori. Welcome and thank you for tuning in and listening. I want to dive into our topic for today, which is the matriarch is not the patriarch inverted. I think that a lot of people have some challenge when they think about or talk about, our society changing, that patriarchy is being dismantled. It is falling. It is collapsing. It is dying. And of course, we see the evidence of the last ditch effort to keep it alive out there with more and more of, trying to, dominate and enslave women in whatever ways, whether literally or symbolically, all the things that are happening out there. And in order to create and be in a new world, what does a new world look like, right? How are we, governed or ruled, or how do we manage that in truly in a new earth, in an enlightened society, which we can create? Very possible. We just have to be willing to do our part, every individual and the collective as a whole. But what does that look like? And when we talk about, the matriarch and moving into that type of society, that type of collective where the earth, the world, humanity becomes a society of the matriarch, obviously with a lot of people get triggered by that. And men and women, by the way. This isn't like only men get triggered by this. It's men and women. But I think, like most of the time is the case when we get triggered, we are functioning in ignorance, assumptions, projections, our ego, obviously, our programming. And I want you to be able to see through this episode today how deeply ingrained, how deep the patriarchy goes. All of that programming of the patriarchy runs so deeply in you and through you that you can't even see it. Maybe for some of you, you thought you had broken out of it and you were living more in equality and oneness consciousness kind of thing. Here's where people get trapped. A lot of people automatically assume that what a matriarchy would look like is literally just women ruling the world instead of men, that women would dominate, women would be in charge of everything. Men wouldn't have all of their rights necessarily. Men would be subservient. Men would be dictated, dominated over. Hello, that's what the patriarchy is to women. That's what the patriarchy is. That is not what a matriarch is at all. In the patriarch, we have an egocentric, but an egoic definition of a hierarchy that has been created from separation consciousness. Separation consciousness. So when we say the word hierarchy, our brains, we have been conditioned to believe what hierarchy means is the person on top, or the person at the top is the dictator, the controller, is the superior being. They are superior. Everyone else below that is an inferior being or inferior to them, so to speak. So when you understand that even the definition of a hierarchy is completely different, and a lot of people say in a matriarch hierarchy doesn't exist at all. That's actually not true. That can't possibly be true. That's like saying, there's an elementary school down the street. No teachers work there. Well, why not? Oh, the children just teach themselves. Okay, like 3-year-olds need an adult to guide them. They're 3, for Christ's sake, right? So it actually is not accurate to say that there is no hierarchy. That doesn't even make any sense in our society period. The difference is the divine definition, the enlightened definition of hierarchy. And that word might even change. There might be a word that comes in at some point to completely replace that word, since it's so poisoned and tarnished by the patriarchy, that there's no such thing. Patriarchy goes in kind of a triangle. Like, the person at the top is the dictator, the one who controls, the one who dominates. They're the superior being, and everyone beneath them. That's a massive, inequality, scale of inequality for hierarchy. Whereas a matriarch is a circle. And yes, there is typically that central point, the center of the center of the center. There's a lot of symbolism in a circle. And then you go to the center of the center of the center of the circle. That is where, the mystical being, the connection, even in our own bodies, we go to the heart chakra, the heart center, and we go to the center of the center of the center of our heart chakras, of that circular energy center in our bodies. Even going there, that is your connection, literally on an energetic level, to your soul, to your higher self. Your human self connects energetically to your soul self at the center of your heart chakra. So that circle, and even the center of that circle, has really profound divine meaning, literal and symbolic meaning of what it means to be the center of a circle. And that is where your hierarchy, so to speak, reigns or rules or teaches or governs. But in a matriarch, it isn't about that being superior. A teacher at, in a 12th grade class isn't superior. They're older. They're at a different level. That doesn't make them superior in our separation conscious, egocentric definition of superiority. Is there a hierarchy there? Well, yeah, they're the adult. They're the more educated one. They bring their wisdom in selfless service to those who haven't yet become that wisdom themselves. Do you understand the difference? Even the term hierarchy now begins to have a new meaning. The wise ones, or those of wisdom, those that carry the universal way of wisdom. When you become a wise being, an enlightened being here to bring your wisdom, yes, you are like at the center of that circle. Why? Because you're the wise one. Get rid of that egoic definition of you're superior to everybody and everybody else is inferior. That's insanity. And that comes from the patriarch teaching you that you're better when you're this, that, or the other. You're dominant, you're better, you're superior if you have more money. You're superior if you're the boss or had this position. You're superior if you have this, whatever fuck label or status. Okay. And that's what's being dismantled. That's what's, and that's what's gripping, clawing for dear life to stay alive right now, of course. But the matriarch is not the patriarch inverted. It doesn't mean we have the same exact world, except women are the ones who now fuck everyone over and dominate everything. That's ridiculous. That isn't how it functions. The matriarch is a society based on equality, based on nurturing, based on power, based divine power, by the way, not this forced domination bullshit, based on the wisdom of the universe and how we all play our role and our part in oneness. That's why it symbolizes a circle, because it symbolizes eternity, infinite beingness of oneness consciousness, right? So it's a never ending, everlasting, infinite, eternal power of oneness consciousness that flows throughout to everybody and back into the center of that circle. All right. And when we function that way, we can move in all different ways around that sphere, around that ball, around that circle. That symbolism there, however your mind wants to visualize it, it's a golden, glowing ball of light, so to speak. And everybody is seen. It's like taking your kitchen table, and you host, you know, barbecues or like holidays at your house, and you have 30 people that come over, and you have one great big long rectangular table. Well, people at one end of the table can barely even see the people at the other end. You have to move forward, backward to try to see people. You can't hear the conversations going on over there. But if you take that table out and you replace it with a circular one in your dining room or your kitchen or whatever, suddenly everyone can see one another. And it's much more connected. Oh, connectedness, the way of connection. If you're not familiar with the 20 universal ways of oneness, I encourage you to grab that on Amazon and start reading about the ways of oneness. This is oneness consciousness. This is a new earth being created. This is the roadmap to get there, are the ways of oneness. It allows us, it teaches us how to heal all of the separation programming that has been our way of existence for humanity, the way that we live for centuries upon centuries. And it is allowing us, it's the roadmap, the gold print to teach us how to begin to learn and become oneness consciousness, beings of oneness consciousness, living as oneness consciousness itself. Okay, that is the highest level of enlightenment we can literally achieve in a human lifetime now. All right. So when you understand, if we go back to that circular table, right? We go back to that. No, everybody can suddenly see each other. Everyone can see each other all at once. Like you look around, you can see everyone. No one's hidden. You can see everyone. And there is an interconnectedness. There's the way of connection. It is a divine level of connection, heart to heart connection with all beings. And when you understand that's the basis, that's the foundation of oneness consciousness, which is the way Matriarch does things, then you understand that everybody has their role. We're all still different. We're all one. And yet all of our unique differences are celebrated. And we're able to function in oneness as a society, as a family unit, as a community, as a neighborhood, as a world. Okay. And the reason why that cooperation works is because you're united together. Everybody still has their different roles and their different positions and their different fields of, study and careers and, place on this planet and genius, but it all complements everyone. It isn't about me being better than you. It is, in our oneness, we are very different. And with our differences, isn't it amazing that we are also one? Both are true. Oneness consciousness is the consciousness of no opposites. No more duality, no more pitting you against me and vice versa, no more superior, inferior. The way of equality reigns in a matriarch. Inequality is just something that people made up in a society to experience inequality, and that occurred because what patriarchy is. It is a system of domination and control and titles and labels and superior, inferior, and that egocentric definition of what a hierarchy is. In a matriarch, in a matriarchal society, you have your hierarchy, so to speak. Remember, I already changed that definition to a oneness consciousness definition of what that means now in hierarchy. So you have your wisdom, you have your wise ones, people that function as the way of wisdom. Okay. You have your highest, mystical teachers. You have your highest beings in society. Again, don't let your ego sneak in. Be like they're the superior ones that rule and dominate. That doesn't fucking exist. And I know it's really hard. The mind immediately goes right back to that as we talk about this. And I'm going to keep interrupting that because I know the patterns of the mind. I'm going to keep throwing these wrenches in there to be like, oh, careful. You're hearing this and interpreting it in a way that patriarchy has taught you it must be. And that is not how it is in a matriarch. So when we function in society as in a matriarchal society, we have our differences. But again, it's not about being in competition or better than. The way of equality, one of the universal ways of one, all 20 universal ways of oneness exist. People become those ways and they live and they function, they work, they create corporations and businesses and schools based on oneness consciousness, the ways of oneness. Government is based on oneness consciousness. I mean, imagine that. That's like real radical fucking thinking right now, isn't it? That a government could actually be based on oneness consciousness, um, and don't have greed and materialism there. And it's, you just get to live freely. And that means in the way of honoring, in the way of equality, in the way of trust, in the way of selfless service. So you'll still see different roles. You'll still see the mystical wise teachers or the people who, are in quote unquote high positions to help teach and govern and rule and different things. But it comes from a very different, number one, a different level of consciousness, obviously. Very different level of consciousness because it comes from a consciousness of oneness. And you're looking out for the higher good of all, not just what meets my own greedy needs and selfishness, right? And it doesn't mean, so here's another mistake people make. Unhealed women, if you are in wounded feminine, and if the wounded feminine were to rule the world, for example, obviously you're not, if you're wounded, you're not ruling from a place of equality. You're not ruling from a place of wholeness. You cannot be in oneness consciousness if you are wounded and unhealed. You can't. You still have to heal yourself, become whole yourself, become oneness consciousness in your little world before you can then emanate and be oneness consciousness with all others. Makes sense, right? That's not a hard concept to understand. And so with this, we understand that in a matriarch, though, in that type of society, it isn't about just women take over. That's ridiculous. It is about the way that women lead. And the way that women lead, because of their direct energetic connections to the creator of all that is. She is the symbol of the creator. She's the one that has the power and the ability automatically, without ever having to try, to take formless energy, invisible energies from the universe, to take literal soul, divine souls in energetic form, pull them into matter inside of her own body, merge the two, and create and manifest an entire human life out of that, and then give birth to that, and then intuitively know exactly what she must do and needs to do to nurture that life. Okay. That is the symbol of the creator herself, period, end. Anybody wants to argue that, get the fuck off of here and go listen to someone else who wants to listen to your bullshit. It's time for the truth to come forward, because this is a new earth that we're creating. And the new earth functions from the universal ways of oneness, which one of them is the way of goddamn truth. No more lies, no more made up stories to stroke our fucking egos and all that nonsense. That doesn't exist in a matriarch. Sorry, there's no room for that anymore. Okay. So in a system where, people are, I've seen them battling out there in the world. I've seen a lot of, for example, I've seen men's groups that men who really want to heal themselves, and they're looking around to find a men's group to join. All of a sudden, there's these little links that you can click to find more and to go down a rabbit hole of healing for you. And all they do is take you to all these links that are like incel groups. I've seen them. I've read them. My life partner, has shown them to me. He's like, oh my God, as I'm looking at some of this stuff, look at where it takes me. And it'll literally be like, this is for all men who hate the matriarch, blah, blah, blah. It takes you into like incel groups online. I mean, it's absolutely psychotic. And what's really crazy, so obviously that's a certain type of people, right? That's a group of people that are abusive and toxic masculine, and they're the violent one. They're the like worst of society, right? So yeah, that exists. But for other people who aren't that, and you're simply trying to learn or understand or grow or elevate, and you really do want to be a part of creating a new earth, first of all, we don't need to call a new earth a patriarch or a matriarch. Like, labels go away, and that's the beauty of what a matriarch really is, because matriarchs don't function in these egoic like labels and I identify and attach to the label that I am. Look at me, how important I am. That's that hierarchy shit. That's why labels, because we function in separation consciousness, that's how labels come about and why they're so important to people. Like my title, my this, my whatever. And it doesn't mean, when we are a more enlightened society, it doesn't mean titles or label for practical purposes are wrong or bad. Get out of the duality, that egocentric thinking of, if not this, then that. If not black, it must be white. Nope, not in oneness consciousness society. No egoic attachment goes to labels. You're detached from the meaning. It doesn't matter. But do people need to know, if I'm looking for a car mechanic and this person over here is a physician, it's important for me to know that this one is a doctor and that one's a mechanic, just for very practical reasons. If I'm looking for, mastersofselfuniversity.com, I teach and certify and train, I educate, teach, and certify mystical life coaches in an intensive coaching certification program, right? So it's pretty important to know, if that's what you're looking for and you really want to become a certified coach in this level of work, to deal with trauma at an energetic level and learn how to guide somebody into alchemizing their trauma, no matter how long they've had it. If that's what you're interested in, then yes, it's very important to get the right quote unquote label and go to the right program for that. If that's not what you want to do and you want to go to medical school, it's pretty important that you go to the school that says medical school on it. Do you see? Like, we get so attached to our labels and what they mean. We need to know our different roles. So you'll still have, in a matriarchal society, in the new earth, and an enlightened world, of course, you'll still have titles of things. That's to make things practical, efficient, and crystal clear. That's all they're meant for. Okay, that's it. It allows us to function in a place of clear, thorough communication, right? If I want a certain department, I need to know what department. There's a title for that department. I don't need a different department. I'm trying to go over there, right? But in the old world, we attach so much meaning. Our identity becomes the labels that they are. We've attached our identity, our self-importance, our self-worth into these stupid labels. And what we do when that world starts to crumble, we say, fuck all labels, fuck all education, fuck everything. And it's like, that's ignorance and immaturity. Let's not make the same mistake that we've been making for thousands of years. People, it should burn to the ground. Yeah, it should. Except that doing the extreme opposite isn't the solution. That's pure fucking ignorance. You're making the same gut. It's the same coin. It's just a different side of the same coin. Whether it's heads or tails. Heads looks very different than tails side, but it's still 25 fucking cents. And that's where a lot of people are making a lot of mistakes out there that I'm seeing. And matriarch versus patriarch is one of the biggest mistakes that I'm seeing, even innocently. I'm seeing, just innocent. I don't understand. No, we don't want a matriarch. And it's like, well, actually, the truth is, if you want to function from oneness consciousness, that is a matriarch. The creator functions from oneness consciousness. Woman symbolizes the creator, period, end. And when we think about it in those terms, then what is best for all is best for me. And that does not mean, don't you dare let your mind go to certain cultures and traditions where they're quite opposite of the United States of America, for example. United States of America, very greedy, very materialistic, very selfish, narcissistic, extraordinarily entitled, I'm the center of the fucking universe. My truth. It's what doesn't serve me, I'll get rid of. Me, 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 me. I'm the center of the fucking, I'm so important, self-important, self-important, self-importance. And yet you have the polar opposite in certain other cultures where you don't matter a damn bit. Only the whole. You sacrifice everything for the whole. Hello. Separation consciousness teaches us to function in polar opposites, to go to extremes. That's not what a matriarchal society teaches or how we function at all. At all. Okay. It's what is best for the whole, but you don't lose your individualism, because that's what is unique. That's your divine uniqueness in your manifested physical form. That's your genius. That is divinity expressing itself through you. Your uniqueness is divinity itself. But we are all unique. Isn't that interesting? We are all extensions of oneness consciousness, creator consciousness. Every one of us is the same. We come from the same stuff. And then this magnificent, individualized, unique expression of that gets manifested into a person. And then we all vary and differ as people while we're here. Isn't that amazing? And then we get to complement each other, because I'm good at this and I have wisdom here. What are you good at? Oh, that could benefit me and I could benefit you. We benefit each other. We benefit the whole because we have differences. We have different geniuses. We have different skills. I mean, it's just an incredible example of the expression of divinity that can manifest itself in 1,000,000,000,8 billion. I wouldn't even know the number of beings on this planet. All of nature, all of animals, every aspect of everything that is manifested on this planet is trillions upon trillions, all coming from the same stuff, the stuff that we are all made of, the stuff that the universe is made of. We are made of the stuff that the universe is made of, because we are the universe. Right? That's the incredible thing about it. Do you see the mysticism in that? Do you see the magnificence in that? The magic in that? All M's. And now the matriarch. That's what the matriarch is. Don't pretend like it's something it's not. The fucking brainwashing lies, domination. I'm going to feed you a bunch of fucking lies and convince you of bullshit that isn't truth. That reign is ending. In my world, it's ended. I don't fucking listen to it. I know not to believe it. I'm too high level of consciousness. It's just nonsense. It's laughable. Don't make up what the matriarch is because you're only been brainwashed by the patriarch. Like, it's time to honor her, the mother of all things. That is the creator, Mother Earth, instead of demeaning her and trashing her and raping her and belittling her and treating her in separation consciousness like you're here to dominate her and conquer her, steal her land and build what you don't need to build on it. Like, there's so many ways in that domination, control, conquer bullshit that we continue to destroy our beloved planet, our beloved Mother Earth. And that means the defamation of the creator herself that we have done in our patriarchal society. Religion has done a beautiful job at that. That comes from nothing but patriarchy. Most religions that exist on the planet, they're all patriarchal. They're all hierarchy. They're all, based on, a man being in charge. It's fucking ridiculous, and then you have all the things going on in churches with priests. I mean, let's get real. You see something really toxic and dysfunctional that is so prevalent, and we still are like, no, patriarchy should reign. Really? Because we failed at that level of ruling and governing. So it's time for something new. And no, the extreme opposite is not where we need to go. It is the same, just different. I mean, think about it. That's not what the matriarch actually is. It does not function in dysfunction, right? The center of that circle you're going to find in households, in businesses and corporations and neighborhoods. As a matriarchal society, you'll have your people, your women often of their genius, their wisdom. They will have certain roles. They will have certain positions. Women are natural born leaders. Why? Because they naturally come from oneness consciousness. That's why. It's brainwashed, beaten out of them, abused out of them to not function in oneness because of our patriarchal society. So anybody unhealed isn't going to function in oneness consciousness. And that's what we need to see comes from the patriarchy. The patriarchy is horrible, extremely abusive to men. Of course, a million times more abusive to women. And it isn't healthy. It doesn't benefit anybody except for a select few who then are in power and control like everything in their greedy, horrible, self-centered ways of living, where they keep everyone else low on the totem pole so they can have it all. And they take. Okay. That is not how a matriarch functions, where we just flip it. It's inverted now. And it's the same exact, world, lifestyle, etc., except that women now take. That's not how they function. No one who sacrifices her own body, whether she ever actually has a child or not, she still sacrifices her body every single month of her life while she's on her menstrual cycle. No one who does that is somebody who just coming from natural, spiritual, biological oneness consciousness. No one who brings souls into her body, combines it with matter, combines it with an egg, with the fertilized sperm and egg. She combines a soul, a divine soul, energetic form into her own human body and sacrifices her own physical body to bring this life forth. She grows life. No one that is here on this earth who has the capacity to do that lacks the ability to be a leader. She is the ultimate leader. Period. You can't compare to that. And here's where your patriarchal, egocentric, separation consciousness minds immediately go. You immediately start to misinterpret and think that that means that women are fucking superior. Inequality does not fucking exist when it comes to a matriarchal society. Get that through your heads and through your hearts. It doesn't exist. Our different roles are honored. Have you ever seen lions and lionesses hunt together? Guess who leads the hunt? They'll hunt together. And the lioness, the females are the ones who lead the hunt, and they start taking down. They literally guide everybody where we should all go, how this is going to work. They lead, and they start the first attack to take down their big prey. And then guess what happens? Once they do all of that, and the males are there with them the whole time, following them, following their lead. And then the bigger, physically stronger and bigger males come in, boom, at the end, jump on the wildebeest or, whatever it is, and they finish the job. They follow the lead of the lionesses. Talk about, we live in such a strange, and I know it can be super overwhelming with everything that comes out on social media, because that's the platform where truth can come out. So I know it's a lot and it can be overwhelming, but you realize that the truth has been coming out about, anthropological findings over the decades and centuries, where in our really sexist patriarchal society, we've proven that when, skeletons would be dug up and tribes and people, communities would be dug up, and we found a new, society that used to live in a certain location, for example. Do you realize the truth? Have you guys seen these documentaries and stuff where in our misogynistic society, we now know, let me start here. We now know that women hunted, they actually led hunts. They taught men and women how to hunt. Because in a matriarchal society, they can see all, they can plan and see things in a way that is very different than the way men can. Men see very tunnel vision, is very linear, very one-track minded kind of thing. That isn't a bad thing. It is needed and it is beautiful and it is beneficial when it is appropriate for that to be used. So when societies and communities would be dug up, and we know there's a new community here, oh, let's dig up all the skeletons, they would find the weapons, the hunting, everything next to the women, just like they would find next to some men. And you know what they would do? Oh, this must be a kitchen tool. I bet they cooked with this. And literally the same fucking spearhead and the same weapons, hunting weapons next to the women skeletons that are next to the male skeletons, they would literally simply categorize them in different categories and say that, oh, this was used for, and they would literally fucking make it up. That's our patriarchal society for you. So then come all the lies. Oh, we found communities and women fucking use these pots and men just hunted. And it's all fucking made up. It was twisted. So this is what is being uncovered now that we're elevating and getting and starting to learn the truth of all things. And I cannot for the life of me understand why, when truth starts to surface, people put so much pushback. like the truth is what sets us all free, people. Hello. If I'm living in a bunch of lies, I want the truth to set me free. That's what sets your soul free. That's what allows you to elevate in consciousness. It's what allows you to course correct. It's what allows you to grow as your human self, not just your soul self. It's just absolutely insane to me that when the truth comes forward and we say, yeah, all the ways that people used to categorize this, and now we know when we find weapons next to the woman, it's like because women used to teach and lead hunting, used to teach the men how to hunt because they come from a very different perspective. Okay. And that is that feminine energy of being able to see a lot of different things at once and know, boom, 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 I can plan out all of this and consider these 500 things. Whereas the masculine energy can't do that. That masculine energy, generally speaking, laser focused. It's a completion energy. It takes things to the finish line. If we didn't have that energy, nothing would get done. It wouldn't get finished. Nothing would be completed, right? That's the leadership energy, is the feminine energy, because the leadership energy is the planner. I can see this, that, and the other. I can see past, present, and future. I can see all of these things at one time. And then I know what path to take. Whereas that tunnel vision is like this. It's just, you're peeking through this little hole. Oh no, this is what we should do right here, because this is what I see right in front of me. I'm so practical and rational. No. Actually, you're missing everything out here that impacts that one thing. So, I'm watering down, I'm diluting, obviously, I'm using generalizations right now. But that's the difference. A leader has to be able to see all things at one time and then say, soldiers, workhorses, go. This is your job. And here's why that and that and that need to get done. You work on that. You work on that. You work on that. Why? Not because I'm fucking dominating you. Not because I'm superior to you. That's the patriarchal bullshit way of running things. It's because I see all things. And because I see all things, it's easier for me to give you a segment and you a segment and you a segment. In that linear tunnel vision, very laser sharp focus, you can go get that thing done. Take it to the finish line. Great. Take it to the finish line. You over there, take that, complete that task. And then everybody freaking wins in the whole organization, the whole company, the whole family unit, the whole fucking world. That is the difference between the matriarch and the patriarch. The matriarch does not come from superiority programming or energies. Doesn't fucking exist because it's stupid. It's ridiculous to think that because you have your gifts and your abilities and your genius and your expertise and your whatever, your leadership, natural born leadership abilities, it is stupid to think that because I have what I have over here, that somehow makes me better than what you have over there. No, we are here to complement each other. We are here to work with our gifts, our genius, our abilities, whatever that means for you and for all other people. And we're meant to make all of us better because of it, whether it's a community, a neighborhood, a household, a business, a corporation, a team sport. It doesn't matter. Okay. In team sports, you still have inside of yourself feminine energy, masculine energy, period, end. And you need to be balanced in them. You need to be balanced in them. You have to know when to lead. You have to know when to sit down and shut the fuck up, because good leaders actually know when to sit down, shut up, and learn something. You are not a fucking leader when you bulldoze, dominate, interrupt 9 million times, have nothing but emotional fragility. So you have these emotional fucking reactions to everything. You can't handle the truth when it comes out. That's not a fucking leader. A leader says, let's take in all this. Let's process this. Let's deal with what we have. Let's put it all on the table. Let's see the truth in all things. And then let's deal with it. And it isn't just for my motherfucking benefit, because I am one of many. And your abilities and skills over there are magnificent. I don't pretend to be what I'm not. But you over there can benefit the whole just as I can. You over there can benefit me. I can benefit you. We're a team. And if we actually learned how to function in oneness consciousness, we'd be way more balanced in all of this stuff. And those of you who continue in your stubbornness and your ignorance and your fucking misogyny to think that a matriarch, we're going to fight till death. We would never have made this world turn into a matriarchal society. You're just fucking idiots. Grow up. This isn't about woman domination. Nobody needs to dominate the whole fucking world. Literally, hello, you're speaking patriarch and you're just slapping it onto the M word, the matriarch word. Like, that's how ridiculous. Like, can't even take it seriously when people say these things. But I'm inviting you, for those of you who maybe haven't quite seen it in this way before. Oh, where do I do that? Guess what? We all fucking do it. Because we've had centuries, thousands and thousands of years of patriarchal rule. Those brainwashing, indoctrinated beliefs run really fucking deep, you guys. And so this is a way to invite you to awaken, men and women both. This isn't just like for men or something. Women have it too. It is inviting you to truly look in and say, how am I still projecting the untruths and the dysfunction of the patriarch onto the new world that I would like to create? Because you can't bring that with you to a new earth. There's no room for it. It literally cannot exist, does not exist, will never exist. So we are either going to create a new earth together by actually becoming enlightened beings, or we'll never have a new earth and we'll just go extinct. There's no such thing as all this toxic bullshit, half-truths, all lies, coming forward and being part of a new earth. That is not a new earth. It's the old fucking earth. Do you understand? So when you understand that, it's like, yeah, no. So a good start is, elevating the oneness consciousness is broken down in a roadmap, step by step, piece by piece, by learning the 20 universal ways of oneness. Okay. Get the digital course. Go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. Grab the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness book on Amazon. Go to mastersofselfuniversity.com and dive into Introduction to the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness. It's a digital course. You can start it right now. Dive in and grab it right now. and start to understand all oneness consciousness is, honestly, it's a matriarchy. But what's funny about being in a matriarchal rule or a matriarchal society is it doesn't ever have to be fucking called that, because we are elevated enough in our beingness and our consciousness and the way that we exist and function on this planet. It doesn't have to have that label or that term, because it fucking means nothing. Like, it doesn't matter. There's no attachment to it, is a better way for me to say it. There's no attachment to that. And that is the massive difference, one of many, between a patriarch and a matriarch. A matriarch, we don't have attachments to things like that. It's just we literally use names or labels or titles for clear communication purposes, for practical reasons, to make things streamlined, to make things efficient, to make things simple. It's actually the most practical way to be. There is no egoic attachment to labels and titles and all of that stuff. It literally is just, you know, if somebody wants a business coach or they want a spiritual mental health coach, there is a vast difference between those two, right? You don't want to go with all of your unhealed traumas to a goddamn business coach. Doesn't make any sense. She or he would have no idea how to fucking help you. They'd be like, are you trying to start your own business, or are you an entrepreneur? No, I have massive trauma from this, incident, violent thing that happened to me, whatever. Great. Let's start a business. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. But again, you have to wake up to where you're still projecting that brainwashing, patriarchal way that we've lived for so long, and just calling it the matriarch. They are not even, they don't fall into the same category. They are not simply opposites of each other. It doesn't make any sense. A matriarchal society is a creator conscious, oneness consciousness society. It's that simple. But you have to be willing to learn what that actually means. Not what your patriarchal, egoic, separation consciousness brain or mind or mental programs tell you it is. There is a difference. That isn't the way of truth. The way of truth is universal truth. So learn what this is, and then you can promote what kind of society you want to live in. And if you don't want to call that a matriarch, you don't have to. We don't fucking care. We have no attachment to that. But it is a society of oneness consciousness. At least call it that, so that you can get out of all of the programming and dysfunctional toxic belief systems that come from separation consciousness and the way our societies have been ruled and reigned over for so long now, right? So go to mastersofselfuniversity.com, jump into that digital course, the introduction to the universal ways of oneness. It'll really help to shift your perspective and become way more elevated in oneness consciousness for yourself, for your life, for your relationships, romantic and otherwise. And then that oneness consciousness is able to expand out into everything that you do, your business, your interactions in your community, your entire life. And that's what we want. That is exactly what we're striving for here, for everybody to be able to achieve that. That is sovereignty, true spiritual sovereignty, emotional sovereignty. Like, that's living as a divinely sovereign being, when you can become oneness consciousness. So I hope that clears some things up for you, and you're not making the mistakes of just projecting the patriarch but calling it a matriarch kind of stuff. It's silly. Or resisting that we're moving into more of a matriarchal society, and that evolution is happening. Ask yourself, why are you resisting it so much? Probably because you're labeling it ignorantly, mistakenly. You're labeling it as just another fucked up, toxic, dominating, ruling society, but it's just women in charge this time. And it's like, ew, who wants to have anybody dominating, controlling, and ruling and dictating anymore? That's what we're healing and dismantling and breaking away from. So really think about that. And I hope some of you have had the realization that you've been doing that without realizing it. You've been projecting the patriarchy all over again on the world and society, but then calling it a matriarch. And I hope you realize how silly and ridiculous it is. And I hope you're willing to stop doing that because it's ridiculous. And all it's doing is delaying. And, it's like you're dropping turds in the water and asking everybody to drink. It's like nobody wants to drink fucking poop water. So quit shitting in the water. I mean, seriously, that's not what a matriarch is. And I hope you understand that now. I hope you understand at least one simple way to symbolize it is that it's, it forms a circle, so to speak. And that circle promotes unity, promotes oneness, obviously, right? It promotes us as infinite beings, as eternal beings. And it promotes and inspires, when you tap into the energetic frequencies of it, a healthy divine interconnectedness with all. That's aspect of oneness consciousness. And one aspect, enlightened aspect of oneness consciousness, is the universal way of connection. That is the way of connection, what I'm describing. That's what a matriarch creates and develops. That where you fit best, where your skills are the highest, that's going to be emphasized. That's going to be utilized. That's going to be promoted. That's going to be highlighted. That's going to be applauded. I can tell you right now, even in my corporation, Masters of Self University, the way that people kind of develop their positions in the corporation, some of them are just straightforward. And this is their experience and this is what they, move into. It's this title, it's whatever. But some of the positions, like, they evolve over time, because if you have a strict, rigid title, here's your job responsibilities only. Well, some of those job responsibilities, like, some people aren't very good at. They're just not. And that doesn't make them then a terrible employee or a terrible team member, or they're shitty, get the fuck rid of them. There are enough things people do to get the fuck rid of them. I've gotten rid of a bunch, trust me. They showed up in ways you were refusing to show up in oneness consciousness. Get out of this organization. We don't accept that here. But it is not because in this quote unquote title or position that you hold or you were given or whatever, that your certain skills are really lacking in certain areas. Okay. And if that's the case, one of two things needs to happen. Let's do what we can. Maybe, why are they lacking? Is this something you can learn? Is it just because you don't have the experience in this particular area? Why are you weak in this area? That's not a judgment. It isn't a criticism. It's let's figure out why you're weak in this area. And can we bring you up? Can you learn how to be really amazing? You just need support. You need help. You need teaching. And if not, okay, so you shouldn't be handling those skills, those responsibilities. It's that simple. If you're not good at it and you can't do it very well and you're always going to be screwing up, guess what? You shouldn't be doing that role. So what happens in my corporation is we see what you're the best at, what you're the strongest at, and then we evolve you and push you into that role. I don't mean push like we're forcing you into it. I mean, in a very loving way. Like, we're going to push you kind of over here. Like, let's nudge you over here. We're going to nurture you into this over here, because that's where you thrive. And that means that's where we all thrive. Do you understand? So certain responsibilities. We're not going to give those to you anymore. Too many mistakes, not doing a great job. And it isn't said with judgment or criticism. It's said as the way of truth. There is a difference. And then look, you can still shine and thrive magnificently here as a part of all of us as this team. Now you're offering the skills that you're great at. That's what we want in an organization. It makes everybody happy. Everybody thrives when that's the case. Do you understand? That's just one simple example. And that's what we do at Masters of Self University on the corporate side of things, right? So I hope that example resonates, because guess what? This is run as a matriarch. That's the truth. Now, I don't call it that because I don't fucking need to. It doesn't matter. This is a ridiculous term. There's no attachment to it. The more important way that we function, if we're going to call it anything, is to function from a corporation of oneness consciousness, where everybody is achieving to become oneness consciousness. And people are at, a multitude, varying levels that they show up as oneness consciousness. But everybody is growing and becoming more and more and more elevated in their ability to become oneness consciousness and their ability to become the 20 universal ways of oneness in every aspect of how they show up in life, whether they're a mystical coach, a certified mystical life coach, whether they're on the corporate team, whether they're, running the podcasts that we offer. What, it doesn't matter what we're all doing and what we're responsible for. We are all devoted to becoming oneness consciousness. And that's the most important thing. When we are that and somebody is slipping or struggling or having challenge, guess what? So many people jump in and offer support because that's what we do in a fucking matriarchal society, AKA a society of oneness consciousness. That's what we do in a corporation that is a matriarchal corporation or oneness consciousness corporation. We really are here to lift everybody up. As I rise, you rise, we all rise together. And we look down and we see the levels that people are on, and we grab them by the hands and we embrace them and we help to pull them up. We teach, we train, we support, we love, we elevate. And the more I elevate, the more you elevate, because the higher I go in my way of wisdom and all the ways of oneness and oneness consciousness, the more I get to teach and support and elevate other people. And then they want to come up. It is an infinite process of that, ongoing, never ending process that is an expression of our divine selves. I think you can look around at centuries of evidence on this planet. Patriarch doesn't fucking function that way, does it? And that's why it's going down. And that's why it's being dismantled. And that's why the tantrums and the kicking and screaming of those who are still completely toxic, patriarchal, brainwashed, and in that realm because they feel like they're going to lose their power. You never had power, you fools. You had force. They're not remotely close to being the same. Power is when you have love for yourself, like you have love for everyone else. And the way you love everyone else is the way you love yourself. That's oneness consciousness. And that's a fucking matriarch. Get it together. Wake up for real. Come join and create the new earth with us over here at Masters of Self University, because that's what we're doing. And it is a place where we function in oneness and we celebrate the hell out of everyone's unique differences. We're not here to be, one group of people, all differences. Like you're here in that divine aspect of you that is unique and magnificent. And we're here to celebrate that while we function from oneness consciousness. And that's the new earth right there. So we're doing that. Come join us. Visit Masters of Self University. Give us a like. Make sure you subscribe. Share this with everybody you know. Thank you so much for listening. It's always such a pleasure to have you join us and tap in to what we're offering here. And I'm going to say, really invite yourself in the center of the center of the center of your heart. Invite yourself to go there, connect, and become the oneness consciousness that you can become. That is what the new earth and the new golden age is comprised of, period, end. Nothing else will come into it's not a new earth. It's just the old earth. Guess what? That's not happening anymore. So we invite you to come and learn about oneness consciousness, learn on a more elevated level of spiritual mystical teachings, and become those mystical teachings so that you can become the oneness consciousness, the divine being that you are meant and capable of becoming. Every last one of you is capable of it, but you have to be willing to go there. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now, everybody.